all started with my father dreaming to be a filmmaker, and it didn't work out for him. I would think if he ever had a chance to make his film, he wouldn't be such a miserable man. Now that he passed away a few years ago, I'm here at his old house trying to tell his story. He spent 2 years at film school learning screenwriting, and after he graduated, he tried so hard to find the money to produce his film. But he couldn't find the money, so he decided to run his own business and hope one day he will have enough money to fund the film. But he never had the money. For the rest of his life, he always struggled with money, so that a film of his never has been made. He wasn't happy at all. It seemed for him the only way to stop being unhappy is stop living. So when my dad passed away, I felt like I need something to distract myself. So I watched a lot of film at that time. It felt like a shelter. Then gradually I started to understand why film was such an important thing for my dad, and I couldn't help myself loving it as well. So I decided I want to be a filmmaker as well. So it's quite an interesting thing that it felt like life is a circle, and I'm picking up what my dad left off. After had a few years experience of how to make film, I'm going to Los Angeles to make a documentary of filmmakers. I think making a documentary of filmmakers will be the right thing to honor my dad and also to find out why they having filmmaking dreams. The dream my father had and I'm having now. Thanks for social media, I managed to find 8 filmmakers in Los Angeles. Now, let's hear their stories.
My name is Pei Si. I'm from Jiangxi province, from China. I'm a student here at Mount St. Antonio College. I'm studying acting.
My name is Carlo Tonda, and I'm a film student from Guatemala here in Los Angeles.
My name is Najemba Annette Mwanga. I'm originally from Uganda. I'm aspiring movie maker. Right now, for money, what do? I drive Uber.
My name is Drew Smith, and I am an aspiring filmmaker based out of Orange County. I've been making short films for about 3 years now. I'm mostly a director and also a writer.
I'm Corey Acock, and I'm from a place called Lorenzo, Texas. I grew up on a cotton farm, the middle of nowhere.
My name is Josh Lindquist. I'm a producer and aspiring writer out in Los Angeles. I grew up in Colorado Springs, Colorado, so I've kind of moved back and forth between here and Colorado a few times, but happy to be out here full time now.
My name is Vincent Precht. I'm a teacher and a filmmaker and a writer. I independently make documentaries.
I am Benjamin A. Onyango, and I'm a filmmaker too, but more of an actor. I'm originally from Kenya, and I came to the United States in 1987. And I came to go to school. And then after I graduated in 1992, I decided to to come to Hollywood to do the real thing that I came here for. So then I drove 6 hours away to Hollywood, and I've been here ever since.
I would say my introduction to film was when I was about 10 years old. I saw Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and I felt drawn to it. I would study up everything Star Wars. I would just like learn everything there has to be, and then that sort of mentality was transferred over to Indiana Jones, to Batman, to James Bond even. Then the more knowledge I acquired, the more confidence I also gained. Okay, this is a bit daunting, but this seems like something I'd be really good at, doing something similar to that.
Film gave me many different perspectives. I was born and I grew up in Guatemala. I spent the first 19 years of my life over there. And over in Guatemala, it's a beautiful country. I love it. I love the people. The only bad thing about it is the corruption and the safety. So even growing up, you kind of have to be in your own little bubble. Like you cannot go out or anything like that because it's too dangerous. So it was always like me watching TV, and that was also like always a very personal like relationship to me. For me, film kind of gave me an escape, a refuge.
The first time I found out I was passionate about filmmaking was when I was a little kid. I was probably 9 or 10 years old, and my mom gave me our first camera. It was like one of those old mini DV cassette cameras, and just me and my friends around our neighborhood, we would just run around and make silly videos, and just being able to, you know, control what we filmed and then go and edit it and tell a story that way. I thought I was the best of it, of my close friend group, of kind of thinking ahead of, okay, we need to film these things this way and edit it together this way to tell a story. That was kind of my thing. I would meet people and say, hey, I'm Josh, I like making movies. That was kind of one of the first things that kind of defined me as a person, you know.
I grew up around cameras and lights and show business. My grandfather was Ed Sullivan, who had a show back from the 40s to the 70s. And my father produced that show, and so I was around a lot of production when I was a kid. And the technical aspect of it always interested me. A different world and really interesting. It was just kind of magical. I don't know if it's always been a dream, but it's just always been a part of who I am. I just expected to be involved in that.
I actually got the acting bug when I was about 15 years old. You know, I used to write little plays in the church, and the youth would, you know, act them out and stuff. That's when I realized that acting is kind of something I want to do.
I started to have that dream to become an actress. It's from like 10 years old or something, when I was very little. My family felt like it's a little bit funny to be an actress. You know, that wasn't real. You have to dream something real. So they were laughing at me. I felt like it was so humiliated. It hurt so bad.
My major was computer science. So I went to California State University. I was 27 when I came, a little old for, you know, most people join university when they're like 18, 19. But yeah, I had to save a lot of money for that to be able to even come. I was working in a cigarette making company called BAT. I was working there as a computer operator. And then I saved money for 7 years, and I made the decision to go to America.
In one of my film classes when I was in college, I was tasked with making a film, and it had to be derived from a totally original script, and it was called Voices. I come up with it about an individual who had a lot of people talking in his head, steering him towards a very negative path.
Why would you waste your time on this shit again?
And that is something that I've had to sometimes deal with. I have a high-functioning autism. I'm only mildly impacted. If I were more severely, I wouldn't really be here at all. But back in those days, at middle school and high school weren't really the best years of my life. Especially in middle school, there were a lot of misunderstandings, and it was a very toxic environment, and high school wasn't really that much different. And I just sort of drew from that negative experience, and I transferred that into the screenplay. And I gathered some people together, and we made it work. And it was a very interesting experience for me, because that was the first time I had sort of somewhat complete control.
University, I majored, I think, in business for a while. It was not film related at all. Maybe like 20. I thought that I had like a bunch of life experiences that I could possibly draw from, that I could possibly like be an actor. I did a couple of local commercials in Texas. Friends and stuff would see me on local commercials, like, oh, Hollywood, you know. But then eventually I was like, it would be so cool maybe if I moved to LA. And I remember one Christmas, me and my mom started talking, and I told her, I was like, I'm not going to class. I don't know what I want to do. Like, I'm not interested in anything but watching films, really. I was like, what do you think if I like worked for a while, made some money, then moved out to LA and see what happens? My mom was like, I think you should do it if you want to do it. And I was like, okay. My dad really didn't want me to move, which he's smart. I mean, when I look back, it's not practical, because it's not a practical thing to move out here and it's so corny, but like follow a dream or whatever. Like, it's, if you don't have no connections out here and you're like, I'm gonna go out there and try acting or try filmmaking, like, it's not a smart thing to do.
I came to Los Angeles because this is a dream place to be an actor, actress, to film industry. Everybody came here for Hollywood. So for me, I just not confident about my professional acting stuff. So my first plan is still go to acting classes to get more professional.
Moving out to LA the first time, it definitely was really exciting. Going out to the hub of where everything films, it was kind of like making a pilgrimage to the place where all the things I love were made, you know, so it was really exciting. And the pricing of everything is always kind of the big obstacle to the dream. Paying the rent for the first couple months was pretty difficult. The apartment I had rented was really, really cheap, and it was really cheap for a reason. It was really gross in a bad neighborhood, and it was just the day-to-day of having, you know, pipes not working, you know, water not coming out clean, you know, there was cockroaches at one point. Like, it was an unpleasant living experience.
Then when I moved out here, like, my first week, I signed up to be an extra. So like, I'm just going on sets and they kind of treat you like shit. I remember my first day, like, on set as an extra, like, I was like, I thought it would be more like of a sacred type of place. Like, the atmosphere would be like very sacred, like we're making like something really important here. Like, that's not what was happening. It was like, hey, stand over here, walk across when we say action. Don't say anything. Don't talk. Don't look at the camera. Don't look anywhere. Look straight forward, walk across. When we say cut, start your place again, walk across.
Do you have to speak in Lu? We are all here, we speak English. Speak it. Just say it in English. Fine. It doesn't matter. As the background actor, that's what I did for a long time before I got some speaking roles later. 1995 is when I started, and then my first speaking role was in 1999, so that's 4 years. I was married. I'm still married, 29 years later. Our journey here has not been easy. It's been difficult. She came from Kenya to join me. She had a good job. She was a French lecturer, making good money, doing well. She had to leave all that to come and support me. And guess what her first job was? She would go into the dumpsters, collect cans, and go sell them. She was an amazing woman who supported me no matter what. And for that, I'll always be grateful.
When I got out of college, I was working on some situation comedies in New York City and here in LA. If you're a production assistant, you don't want to stay a production assistant. You want to, climb the ladder and do something different. And so I tried to get work writing freelance scripts, but I did not get any work. I just felt like I wasn't good. I didn't feel like I could do that kind of work. It kind of made me feel like this is not what I want to do. And every time I run into some obstacle, I guess instead of trying to pound at whatever the obstacle is, I go around it and try to find a different path. When it didn't work out, I think at first I did feel defeated. After that, I just decided that this, like working at a studio, working in the show business wasn't going to work for me. So I started watching a lot of movies by independent filmmakers. Then I sort of pictured myself as being more independent. And so I had a little Bolex 16mm camera, and I started shooting stuff with that.
I've done a lot of weird jobs out here, man. So I had a job where I worked for a florist. I found out the clients were Steven Spielberg. Every week, I'd go to Steven Spielberg's house. One time I walked into his office at his house, and he was sitting at his desk, and he kind of raised up his head, kind of like we can talk, you know what I mean? But I was always so nervous. Like, I just set, I was like, hello. And I just set the vase down on this table that he had. He had his Oscars setting up there, and I just set it down, and then I just put my head down and just walked out really fast. I would go through these periods of not being confident. You'll get around these powerful people, there's such a divide. You'll be in the same room with someone that is a multimillionaire and has this whole body of work. And you have these other people in the same room that they're surviving off $11, $12 an hour, have nothing, no resume. I think that's kind of LA in a nutshell.
In this business, you have to have a thick skin. If you don't, you have no business staying in the entertainment world, because you're going to get a lot of no's. I got rejected so many times, and I didn't care. But one day, it got to me. One day, I went to audition. It was a TV show. I did my thing. The guy said, can we have him do it again? The lady said, no, no, no. And the way she said it, I was like, I felt bad. So as I was driving, feeling bad, I'm cursing out and just, my agent calls, hey, Benji. Yeah, what? You got the job. I'm like, what?
It gets to a point, man, I think with actors, with me at least, you just want the acceptance. So you're going in a room and they like you. You're just somebody thinks I'm special. And that's enough. Like, I'm glad that I wasn't practical, because I think if I knew now, I wouldn't have moved. I've lived here for 12 years now, and I don't think I would make the move now, to be honest. Because I've gone through a bunch of shit here. I've worked a lot of different jobs. I've had moments here where I'm working jobs. It's just like the amount of shit that I'm putting up with and the less amount of pay for a job that I do not care about, and a job where the manager's treating me like shit. And I'm like, what am I doing? Is this worth it?
It was hard to leave LA the first time. You know, I went through a period, because, you know, you can go through periods where work is slow for production assistant work. That was kind of my main job back then. So I had one movie, and this is the movie I ended up producing, where they talked about, hey, in a few months we might start filming, we'd like you to be a production assistant. And so I was trying to hold out for them, but then when my lease was up there and I had a job offer in Colorado, I said, okay, I gotta take this. So working out in Colorado was great to have a steady paycheck and everything, but I missed it the entire time, and that's what brought me back. I think those 5 years were a waste. I told myself, if I'm living in Colorado and working this steady 9-to-5 job, I'll make sure I'm focusing on my writing. That way these 5 years will mean something. And when you're doing a job you don't like, you get home at the end of the day, you're not going to sit down and write for 2 hours. So I did some writing, but yeah, I think those 5 years overall were a waste, and I should have stayed out here. No, I would not. Even if they offered me triple salary back in Colorado, I wasn't happy at work. Here, I'm happy at work, very happy, and then I'm excited to go to work every day, which most people can't say, you know. So yeah, every time I get hired on a set, like my next project I'm doing is an overnight, where I'm working, we'll be filming nights, and any other job I would be like, no, I'm not doing that. But for this job, I'm like, great, let's do it.
And I used to say, this is a true story. I tell this story everywhere. I used to say I speak Swahili. Every single time I go on a set of a movie, I say I speak Swahili. It never got me anywhere. The 25th time, so the 30th time, 40th time, the 55th time, it worked. On the set of the X-Files, I said I spoke Swahili. The lady just looked at me and just went away. But 10 minutes later, she was calling me, Benjamin, Benjamin, where's Benjamin? Oh man, I thought I was in trouble. Oh, why did I open my big mouth, you know? Did you say you speak Swahili? Oh yes, I did. I speak Swahili. Can you teach everybody on the set how to speak Swahili? I said, yes. So that's how I got my first speaking role on the 1999 season finale of the X-Files. And for 3 days, they bumped me from extra to principal, had my name on a trailer. I'm like, wow, this is amazing, you know? And that was the beginning. So the next job was Tears of the Sun, which was a big movie. Bruce Willis and Monica Bellucci and all the other actors. I didn't really feel that I was famous, but it was funny that now as I walk in the streets, someone goes, hey, you're that guy. I'm like, whoa, okay, yes, it's me, you know, so that felt good.
I still audition for roles every once in a while now, but the whole journey of like self-promoting yourself and going to that actor's life, like I was like, I just don't want to do that. I was like, I need to do something. I need to take an initiative. I love film so much. And I felt like I had something to express, you know what I mean? And I was like, I can't do that in these acting roles. And I was like, I'll write my own stuff. I just want to make something good. It all happens in this alley. It's an alley like 3 or 4 blocks from here. So I called it Up Willie's Alley. And it's about this guy who lives in an alley, and his name is Willie, which I played the guy. I had longer hair, I had more of a beard, so I looked like a homeless guy. Plus LA is like known for the homelessness, so I could hit on these topics. Like I could hit on like drugs, I could hit on gentrification, I could hit on politics. I could hit all these aspects in each episode. Finishing it, even if it goes nowhere, for me, it's like, it was a tremendous amount of pride.
I realized that if I wait for Hollywood to see me or to notice me that I can do it, I'll be lying to myself. There are people who have been here, who were born here. They are still struggling to make it in the film world. Then who am I to come from Uganda with the scripts I think that I write and they're already trashed to think that I can do that?
At first, it was an arranged marriage. But we found our way and we fell in love.
And it took us 2 years to film that movie, to get it out. When I premiered it, it was more of a community premiere. It was an achievement for me because those people who didn't know that I can write, now they know that I can write. Those who thought that we were just playing around when we said we were filming, then we proved them wrong.
Hello. ¿Quieres retomar donde nos quedamos? The piece that I'm most proud about is also like my most basic introductory piece. So one of my first classes at LA Film was Introduction to Film, and they asked us to do a 2-minute or less trailer about our lives, like what our life was up about that point. And we couldn't use video. It could only be images, sound, and whatever editing you knew. And at that point, it was a really tough spot in my personal life, a lot of things going on at the same time. So I made this video very personal to me. And I think once I showed it and I could see how people connected with it and how like the authenticity of me being true to other people really impacted them, I think that made me really proud. And for the first time in a while, I thought, hey, if I could just make stuff like this where I open myself up to be vulnerable and to show people that, hey, they're not alone, like the things that you're fighting with, like I also fight with them too. I think that was just very, very beautiful and very encouraging to me.
What's that? Those are the kids I teach.
My master's project was about a teacher who didn't want to be a teacher. He wanted to be an actor. I think that the film that I made was about me in many ways. At that time when I made it back in '96, that's how I was feeling about my life. I wanted to be a filmmaker. The project was good. It won a couple of small awards.
To be honest, I want to be famous. If you're famous and then you got a lot more opportunity, then you can try different characters.
My dream is acceptance.
I see myself as getting there to the film business. Not there yet, but I'm seeing myself on the road to get there.
Well, the goal, I wouldn't keep making these if I didn't think they weren't good. But it's hard to think, like, how can you make a living doing that? I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm just going to keep making stuff.
The position I'm at right now. But is it where I want to be? No, not yet. So I'm still striving to get there.
If for some reason somebody sees a story that I wrote and says, hey, we want to make a film out of that, I would be happy to make it. But I'm all right, you know, with being a teacher.
The ultimate dream that people connect to my content and that they draw some comfort from it and related this message, I'm not alone. I think that's at the end of the day what I'm looking for.
Hopefully still working out here. I'd like to kind of, you know, be be working on projects where I'm having a big part in the creative side of things. That'd be the dream come true.
People have different paths of chasing their dreams in this filmmaking world. I respect every one of them. They are shining because of dream chasing. After hearing stories of these dream chasers, I come back to my father's old house again to put an end to this story. I understand making film is never an easy job, especially for my dad back in those days. I think he couldn't make it. He must feel so frustrated and defeated. So I don't think I can blame him for taking his own life. Now that I'm picking up what my dad left off, hopefully one day I can fulfill his dream. Well, it's our dream now to be a filmmaker. I would like to dedicate this film to my father, even though he wasn't able to fulfill his dream. He, nonetheless, just like anyone else, is a dream chaser.